If you struggle with everyday stress and anxiety, you may need to find a hobby, and I'll help you with that right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Modern Mindset. This week we'll take a look at hobbies and the reason why they are an important part of keeping balance in your life. This last week has honestly been probably the most stressful week I've had since I've actually started my career. And if I didn't have hobbies, I don't know what I would have done. I would 100% burn out by now, and I would definitely not have been able to keep my sanity at all. And that's why I think there are a few misconceptions about what hobbies are and what type of role they play. Typically, I've seen hobbies framed as this thing that you should do whenever you don't have anything else to do, and that they're not important, and that you shouldn't really allocate time to them unless you have nothing else better to do. And to me, that's completely wrong. Hobbies give you the opportunity to get away from all your anxiety and struggles and stresses from the week and just your everyday life. Personally, I can't go more than a couple days without training. Training both in the weight room and on the mat gives me the opportunity to really get away from home and from work and all those kind of stresses and lets me focus on those individual tasks in its entirety. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually the perfect example of this, and that's kind of why I'm wearing the gi. I think it makes a whole lot of sense to me, but maybe it just looks gimmicky, but oh well. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of those activities you have to give 100% of focus on, or you're going to end up asleep on the mat. You're going to be rolling with somebody and someone's going to wrap their gi around your throat and you're going to end up asleep. Or at the very least, you'll try to do some type of technique half-assed and end up getting your ass thrown on your back.
To your right, move to your right. Don't do that.
In that clip, in that match in particular, I had watched that guy just break someone's arm in the match before, and he was just a super strong guy technically standing up, so I was so worried that I didn't give 100% into the throw, and it cost me that throw for sure. But hobbies don't always have to be physical. They can serve any kind of different purpose. They're always different from each individual person. The key is that you get to decide what you want your hobby to represent to you. Such as you can set your goal to be relaxing. It can be something to lose weight. It can be something to learn a new skill or anything else that you desire. For me, I joined jiu-jitsu because I'd always thought about doing it and I had always wanted to do it, but I always had football in the way. So once I graduated, I had no more excuses. I wanted to keep competing and I wanted a way to lose weight at the same time. Competing in jiu-jitsu allowed me to test my skills at the same time in a very safe manner and also lose weight. I was able to go through the highs of winning.
Win number 3.
And I also went through the lows of losing. But in jiu-jitsu, you're always learning, and that's why it made it the perfect hobby for me. A hobby allows you to balance life. Even if you only get to do a hobby for 30 minutes, an hour, or some period of time during the week or day, it shouldn't be something that you allow other activities to cut into. You should reserve that time dedicated to that hobby or that activity in order to always have it, and it's just like a secure resource in your daily life. And I'm not saying that you should forego your responsibilities and not do what you're supposed to. You're supposed to find time that's reasonable for you in order to do that activity while also not having to worry about chores or work. I would also suggest that you find a hobby that allows you to achieve something or allows you to set goals or related to that hobby. So for example, I wouldn't say that binging your favorite TV show should be considered a hobby, so to speak. At least from what I know, Netflix hasn't implemented any kind of ranking system yet, so I don't think you can really become the best. Some people would categorize video games as like an addictive habit so that they don't consider them as hobbies, but I don't really fall in that group. I think as long as they're done in moderation, then they're perfectly fine. To me, a hobby in the simplest terms is something that allows you to get away from everyday stresses while also setting goals in order to achieve some kind of experience. Now on to finding a hobby. The first thing is to figure out what you like to do and what you want to achieve. That can be done in a couple of ways, but one way you can do it is just go to Google, look up hobbies, and find the list of different hobbies that people have. Then just go through the list and note any hobbies that you think might be interesting or might be something that you want to do. And the next step is just to try one. And don't be afraid to change hobbies or goals as you go. You're not on this strict schedule. No one's forcing you to do the hobby. That's kind of the point of it. It's supposed to be something you want to do. If you achieve the goal you want, you can always set a new one, or you can try a new hobby afterwards. It's all up to you. One example is with reading. Say you want to read a book a month, but then you start reading and you find it's just too easy. Well, you can always increase the amount of books you want to read per month, or you can just add another hobby on top of that. However, I would suggest starting with just one hobby at first until you find one that you actually enjoy, and then you can go from there. Hobbies allow you to find a new source of dopamine. They allow you to find an activity that's outside of your everyday stresses. You should set a reasonable amount of time aside for your hobbies so that they don't get taken up from just chores or work. You want to make sure that that time is dedicated to your hobbies so that you don't have to think about the stresses of your normal life. Those stresses you were dealing with are still going to be there in an hour. So don't allow yourself to make excuses for just giving up your time for your hobbies. As long as you're not forgoing impending responsibilities, then everything can just wait an hour. It's not going to be the end of the world. But with all that said, thanks for watching the video and see you next week on Modern Mindset.